as those that she survived. And my hope is in this tragedy, we see opportunity. We see signs. We look at how we came together. A sense of collective purpose, donations, do-gooders, simply people showing compassion. These are the signs I'm talking about. Hearts and minds of a collective soul of goodwill. I haven't seen it burn this bright. In the cause of repairing and restoring beauty, crowds like this these most days are fueled by anger and opposition, but not here. This is about what remains and the signs that show us it is worth coming together and we are stronger together. And hopefully she will be back with us soon. That's our show for tonight. I'm running late. Let me get it to D. Lemon right now.
Yeah, you are running a little late. That's okay. Listen,
Sorry.
I think you... No, don't worry about that. Come on. I got 2 hours to fill. So, listen, you did a really good job of educating people about what you call Our Lady, about Notre Dame Cathedral. And I think Catholics, I'm sure your family's very proud of you, and I think you should be. You did a really good job with that. So I commend you for that. I want to ask you something, because you've been down with the border and talking about something that could be a fundamental change to our immigration system and people who are seeking asylum in this country. Okay, this is what New York Times is reporting, and CNN has matched the reporting. The Trump administration on Tuesday took another drastic step to discourage migrants from seeking asylum, issuing an order that could keep thousands of them in jail indefinitely while they wait for resolution of their asylum. Basically, what the Attorney General William Barr has done, he's trying to make good on the president's promise to end catch and release. So he has told judges that they don't have to grant bail or let people go, even if they have met the requirements for asylum, that they are to continue to be detained. It wouldn't take place for about 90 days now, but it's sure to be fought in court. There you go. What do you think?
Circumstance is going to dictate the constitutionality of the measure. If they are found to have sufficiency in their early pleading stage, their early hearing stage, then holding them differently than the law currently allows is going to be problematic. Obviously, if somebody is detained illegally, then you have much more discretion in terms of detaining them. The problem, though, however, Don, is not to be faked out by this move, because their problem is capacity. They're letting people go not out of any sense of compassion or humanity. They're doing it because they have to. And you can tell the judges whatever they want. They don't have any places to keep them. So this is a little bit of a distraction to show harshness when they don't have any solution to the real problem, which is accommodating the flow.
Yeah.
He's got nothing for that. But he's going to have constitutional problems with this. You're going to have habeas corpus problems. You're going to have problems of due process. You're going to have problems.
Yeah. One immigration attorney said this, and this is a quote: basically, if you pass the initial asylum screening, you can now be indefinitely detained. And she called the decision horrible news that could affect thousands of migrants apprehended at the border and people who come here and do what is legal, seek asylum.
Right. I think it's going to have a very hard time supporting it. But that just shows you he will take a step, and this AG will do it for him, even though legally it's suspect.
Yeah.
Because they like the political message. It's not what an AG is supposed to be in the business of. They often are, and it seems that way again.
Well, it's interesting that the AG is coming out with this just hours before the Mueller report is supposed to come out in full, minus a redaction, so we shall see.
The Mueller report they're releasing on the eve of the holiest weekend of the year for Catholics and Christians, and Jews have Passover, and that just happened to be when they're putting it out.
Oh, what are you trying to say? That there's like a document dump?
Dirty pool, D. Lemon.
Yeah.
Dirty pool.
Yes, so we'll be following the story that you just spoke about. You are the attorney. I wanted to ask you, you've been at the border. You've been covering what the president has refers to as the brown menace. You refer to it as the brown menace. Wanted to get your response to that. Christopher Cuomo.
Glad to be on the record, D. Lemon. I'll be watching.
See you. We got a lot to cover. Talk to you later. Nice show. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon, and we are really getting down to the wire. We're going to continue to follow the report that we just talked about, but we're getting down to the wire when it comes to the Mueller report, because in a few hours, as few as 36 hours, people across the country, around the world, will finally see what is actually in the Mueller report, at least as much of it as the Attorney General will let us see. But no matter how much is redacted, of those 300 to 400 pages, we are bound to know a lot more come Thursday than we do right now. And that's got a lot of people on Team Trump, current and former aides, by the way, really worried tonight about what they said to Mueller and how much of it could or will become public. Several of them are telling CNN that they are dreading Thursday. Not looking forward to it at all. Dreading what they fear will be a credible account of chaos inside the White House. You know, it's not going to be sources said. This is going to be Robert Mueller's report telling him this is an account from actual people inside the White House, right, with names. Even those who defended the president fear that anything they said about his temper or his work habits, it could set him off. Think about that for a minute. I want you to imagine being one of those Trump aides who said something about the boss, something that he wouldn't like, said it under the penalty of perjury, right? So you had to tell the truth. So the president can explain it all away as gossip or lies. And imagine the whole world, president included, about to hear what you said. You'd be a bit nervous too. I mean, just for a regular boss, but the president of the United States, I think you would be a bit nervous about that. So one Republican source is telling CNN, quote, they cooperated and had to tell the truth. He is going to go bonkers. That's a quote. You know Anthony Scaramucci. He was the White House Director of Communications for all of 10, 11 days, around 10 days. Says this with what, you know, you'd have to call uncharacteristic understatement.
There's likely paragraphs that probably are going to look not great for him or people in the administration or people in the transition.
He also said to The Hill, or wrote in The Hill, that press wasn't the enemy of the people. Interesting. Anthony Scaramucci. On Thursday, when we finally get the redacted report, we're going to find out just how much was left out of the Barr letter. The president's nemesis, or one of them anyway, the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, weighed in today in a conversation with CNN's Christiane Amanpour.
It isn't up to the Attorney General, who has said basically that the president is above the law and the rest, so he's there to redact whatever he wants. Well, let's just see what he puts forth. Can't make a judgment about something that you haven't seen yet, and so we look forward to seeing it.
Well, everybody, we're all counting the hours until we can read for ourselves, read the report on Thursday for ourselves. We know at least one person who won't be reading it. Want to guess who that is? One official tells CNN President Trump, who famously prefers one-page summaries with visual aids, not expected to read every page himself. The president's legal team will brief him once they've read everything, but I think it's a safe bet the president will be watching it all unfold on cable TV, cable news. Many West Wing officials say they'll read the report themselves, though some said that they would wait until after they have left the office, which sounds like a good plan, doesn't it? CNN has learned that Trump's personal lawyers have been working on their counter report based on what they have seen in the Attorney General's March 24th letter, a letter that was written to get out ahead of this report and make people think that they already know what it's going to say, even though Barr only quoted 101 words from Mueller's report out of a 300 to 400 page report. Make people think the president has already been exonerated. And the president has been shouting it from the rooftops for 3 weeks now.
There was no obstruction and none whatsoever. It was a complete and total exoneration. The Mueller report was great. It could not have been better. It said no obstruction, no collusion. It could not have been better.
The finding was very, very strong. No collusion, no obstruction.
The special counsel completed its report and found no collusion and no obstruction. I could have told you that 2.5 years ago. Total exoneration, beautiful conclusion. I haven't seen the report. There was no collusion at all. There never was.
They said no obstruction, and so there's no collusion, there's no obstruction.
So the fact remains, facts are really important around here. While Mueller did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government, the special counsel did not reach a conclusion on obstruction. And Barr quotes him, saying, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. It's the exact opposite of what the president is saying. But the president is reportedly all, what, me worry? Harking back to the Attorney General's letter that he claims exonerated him. Well, at the same time telling us what he really thinks in the same way he always does. Ta-da! Twitter. Starting the day by tweeting, no collusion, no obstruction. And at it again for a few hours with an assist from his BFF at Fox News. So here we are, some 36 hours away from getting the Mueller report, some 36 hours, with what's likely to be a whole lot of redactions. But will we also get answers to a whole lot of questions? Questions like, who is named in the report? What did they tell Mueller? What about the context of those few quotes from Mueller, 101 words in the Barr letter? Will we learn anything new on contacts between the Trump campaign and Russia? What more will we learn about Mueller's decision not to make a decision on whether the president obstructed justice? We may not get all the answers. Probably won't get all the answers. But in roughly 36 hours, we'll certainly know a lot more. And one of the people around to guide us through what to expect, exactly to expect from the Mueller report, he knows, is the former U.S. Attorney from the Southern District of New York, Preet Bharara. He's here next.
Drivers just won't put their phones down. We need a solution. Introducing Smart Dogs, the first dogs trained to train humans, stopping drivers from liking, selfie, and whatever this is. Available to the public? Never. Smart Dogs are not the answer. But Geico has a simple tip. Turn on Do Not Disturb While Driving mode.
Brought to you by Geico. We started Untuck to help guys look sharp and feel casual. Because traditional shirts just weren't meant to be worn untucked. Untuck shirts fall at the perfect length and are designed for guys of all shapes and all sizes. So now everyone can experience the perfect fit of an untucked shirt.
At least somebody made the right call.
Only in Jamaica can you stay at one Sandals and play around at all 6 resorts. Sandals in Jamaica. It's 6 vacations in one. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
I drive up, I bring people dish. I love it. Why? Because what I bring makes people go, whoa. Over 80,000 on-demand movies and shows. A voice remote that leaves them speechless. Live TV streamed instantly. And it's all getting us some pretty big awards, but my reward is that moment when I let them drive.
Wow. Ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. Dish, tuned into you.
We're reporters from the New York Times. No flights, no roads. We're trying to figure out what animals are being affected.
The Galapagos is a really challenging place to work. El Nino starting to go haywire. Everywhere is going to get touched by climate change.
When you run from National, it's kind of like playing your own version of best ball. Here you can choose any car in the aisle, even if it's a better car class than the one you reserved. So no matter what, you're guaranteed to have a perfect drive.
Go National. Go like a pro.
You see what I did there?
If you have moderate to severe psoriasis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clearer skin is achievable. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ready to treat differently with a pill? Otezla. Show more of you.
The Mueller report is finally coming in as few as 36 hours. And while we know there will be redactions in it, we could get answers to a lot of questions that we've been asking since the start of the Russia investigation. Let's bring in now the former U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara, who is the author of Doing Justice, a prosecutor's thoughts on crime, punishment, and the rule of law. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I appreciate it. Of course. You're a prosecutor for a long time.
I was.
What are you going to be looking for?
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts, not spin, not innuendo, but facts. And I think we've seen from prior submissions made by Bob Mueller, whether it's sentencing memoranda or criminal complaints or indictments, that they write in a fairly plain way and they set forth what they think is true without a lot of embellishment, and it's hard to argue with it. And so I'm looking to see what facts are set forth, which facts are new, without editorializing, in particular in the area of obstruction.
Will we get that, you think, with the redactions?
Yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking that a lot of the redactions would fall into the first section of the report that is about collusion, so to speak, and conspiracy, because that kind of evidence and that kind of material relates to the grand jury, I think, a little bit more. There might be more classified information there because you're talking about consorting between the Russian government, Russian officials, and potentially folks on the American side. But on the obstruction section, my sense is that a lot of that evidence was obtained through voluntary interviews and things that happened publicly. And so, and there shouldn't be a lot of classified information that relates to obstruction. And so we should see a fuller version of that.
So the people who, as you said, voluntarily were interviewed, and even those who testified, the grand jury, should they be worried about that becoming public?
I mean, it depends on what they said. There have been reports, right, over the last day or two, suggesting that people who were cooperative with the special counsel, who in fact were told by the administration lawyers to be cooperative with the special counsel, are worried that their words may come back to haunt them if they paint the president in a bad light, which is not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to go and you're supposed to tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may. And it's unclear to me how much the Attorney General is going to want to protect the source of that information. Even if they don't use the names, sometimes it's very obvious, in the same way that individual one in the Michael Cohen plea was obvious that it was the President of the United States. It might be obvious who Don McGahn is in the document.
So you know the narrative that has been set. No collusion, no obstruction,
right.
You know, it's right. So, but the president he's denied any wrongdoing. He lied about, aspects of knowing about the Trump Tower meeting. He lied about why he fired Comey. Do you think we're going to find out about that?
I think we'll find out a bunch. I mean, as I was saying right before we came on air, there's sort of two things that are going on here. One is the legal ramifications. I don't know if those will change at all. It depends on what Congress decides to do, because obviously Bob Mueller has decided his investigation is over. No crime as far as he sees with respect to conspiracy. Couldn't make a decision because it was too close a question on obstruction. But Bob Mueller is done with respect to his investigation. And so will the legal issues change? Probably not. But from the perspective of the court of public opinion and congressional opinion, if there are new allegations that we have not been familiar with over the last couple of years and have not been normalized about things that the president did that show his state of mind and show that he was intending to try to obstruct or stop the Russia investigation, conversations maybe between him and Don McGahn, the former White House counsel, conversations between him and maybe the former Attorney General or the acting Attorney General, Matt Whitaker, that show that the president really, really, really wanted to end the investigation that we have not heard before. I think that gives momentum to an abuse of power allegation.
So they have not, are you surprised that they haven't claimed executive privilege? Is it possible that they still will?
Yeah, I don't know that they haven't yet. I mean, Bill Barr said in a way that is, I guess, a little bit promising, that he wasn't going to submit information to the White House and let the White House make determinations about executive privilege, that the White House was deferring to Bill Barr. He was, the last I saw, he was ambiguous on whether or not that meant he wasn't going to be claiming executive privilege or that he himself was going to be deciding, as opposed to the president and the White House deciding whether or not there's executive privilege.
Thank you for talking about the news. Let's talk about your book.
Okay.
Okay.
If you insist.
So you write in your book, you said, it's very hard for the FBI or the Justice Department to show convincingly the purity of the decision not to charge Hillary Clinton, especially to people who don't like her and who sniff the vague sin of corruption. If Robert Mueller and others decide not to charge or decline to make a referral on President Trump, it will be very difficult to show the purity of that decision, too, even if it is pure. What do you mean by that, Preet?
I forgot I wrote that.
Yeah.
That was before we knew about the Mueller report and no conclusion about criminality. Look, it's very hard generally in life to assess a decision not to do something, right? I chose not to take that job. I chose not to marry that person. How can you judge years later whether or not that was a wise decision? Mm-hmm. That's true in sort of any decision when you did not go down that path. Mm-hmm. It's especially hard in prosecutorial decisions. On the one hand, if you decide to charge someone, in our system, it's an open court, as I write about in the book, and you can assess the quality of the charges, you can assess the quality of the evidence. Reporters like you are allowed to go into the courtroom. There's a transcript that's prepared. It's not done in secret. And so everyone can have an opinion, and actually, an opinion based on facts and evidence and exposure to the process. On the other hand, if you choose not to bring a case, because of the general, policy and the fairness of not attacking somebody when you've decided to make the decision not to charge them, in a politically charged environment especially, it's hard to prove to a subset of the population who does not have faith that decisions are made on the grounds of evidence but based on politics. It's hard to convince them that it was a good faith decision. This is the kind of thing that got Jim Comey in a lot of trouble with a lot of people. I think he was operating from a good faith view that he wanted to defend the FBI and his institution from the allegation that the decision about Hillary Clinton and not prosecuting her was made in good faith and was based on the law and based on the merits. But he heard and saw a lot of people saying, well, I don't believe that, I don't buy that, and he wanted to explain. And I understand the impulse to explain, but it's hard to explain to people who have their minds made up in advance.
All right, more from your book. You don't mention the president in your book, but you do write in one passage, and read this, you said, attacks on prosecutors by the prosecuted are par for the course, but there are limits, dangerous when breached. When leaders of nations, whether the president of Turkey, Russia, or the United States, join the attacks, hurl the invective, demonize the justice seekers, it jeopardizes justice and threatens to destroy any remaining faith in it. And it may not be a big jump from mere rhetoric to radical abuse of power. So we've seen his president and his allies repeatedly attack institutions, including the DOJ. He does it with the press as well. DOJ Mueller investigation. Are we at a tipping point, you think, here in America?
I don't know if we're at a tipping point, but we're definitely going down some slope. And I don't want to, say Armageddon is coming. But I think reasonable, smart people who are Republicans and Democrats and independents are concerned about the degree to which this invective is being launched against people who have the temerity to investigate things that, by the way, were decided to be investigated by the president's own hand-picked people, like Rod Rosenstein. Yeah. So, as I said in the quote that you read, it's par for the course. I got attacked all the time because people don't like to be investigated. People don't like to be prosecuted, and I get that. There is an order of magnitude difference when the person who is saying those things and crying witch hunt and undermining the motivations and the intelligence and the patriotism of the prosecutors and the investigators is the person with the largest megaphone on earth, whoever the President of the United States happens to be. And when you decide to use that megaphone to attack people who are conducting an investigation that was ordained by your own people, there's a swath of folks in the United States of America who will believe what's being said, and it's irresponsible. And I don't know if we're at a tipping point, but we're definitely not in a good place.
7.5 years, you were the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District.
I was.
For 7.5 years. So now they are doing an extensive investigation on the president's business, also his inaugural committee. They've interviewed people like Keith Schiller, like Hope Hicks, people who are close to the president. Schiller was his bodyguard. Hope Hicks obviously was an assistant of some sort and a press person. So do you think that this presents a bigger danger to the president than the Mueller investigation?
Yeah,
Is he has more exposure here?
I don't know what the facts are. He has more exposure in the sense that the Mueller investigation, even though some people thought it crossed red lines and the president was always upset about the ambit of that investigation, it was circumscribed. It was really about issues relating to interference in the election and potential involvement of the Trump campaign, and then other things arising out of that investigation, one of which was obstruction. Southern District of New York, kind of like Congress, does not have any circumscription about what it can look at. It can look at the inaugural committee. It can look at money laundering. It can look at financial transactions. It can look at campaign finance abuse, as is the case with the Michael Cohen case that they're overseeing. So in the sense that if the president has done wrong in some of these other aspects of his life, like the Trump Organization or the inaugural committee or something else, then the Southern District of New York is free to look at all of those things. I still think they have the constraint that a lot of people don't like, and understandably.
From the DOJ about
not being able to prosecute or indict a sitting president. But that does not mean that they can investigate people, including those who are related to the president and associated with the president in his businesses and otherwise, or in his administration, up to and including the president himself. Whether or not they can take action on the president is a separate matter.
So what do they do then?
So they can wait until
if they find wrongdoing, assuming that
if they find compelling wrongdoing that they believe they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. If it was an ordinary citizen, not that you're ordinary, but it was Don Lemon, and they thought we have proof beyond a reasonable doubt and it's a serious crime, and the interests of justice support bringing the case, but it happens to be against the president with respect to whom there's this policy, I guess they have a couple of choices. They can wait. They could, I guess, I've never seen this. It looks like Bob Mueller did something like this. They can make a referral to Congress. I think there's an argument that you could make the indictment under seal. That's pretty extraordinary, and wait until a later point when the policy and practice doesn't matter anymore. That's a pretty extraordinary thing.
Meaning when he's out of office.
Yes, to stop the statute of limitations from running. They could do all of those things. All of those things are very extraordinary. And I think they would need to be very, very thoughtful about it, very, very apolitical about it, which I think they are. And it would have to be something that is very strong and very clear and very provable.
One more thing I want to ask you. So when this report comes out, redacted or otherwise, do you think it'll be sort of a political Rorschach test? Everyone's going to see in there what they want to see, even if there's things that are not so favorable in there for the president of the United States?
Yeah, look, I think the battle lines are drawn. We already see what the president's allies have said about the document, some of which are not borne out, even by the couple of sentences or parts of sentences that were quoted in the Barr letter, such as, the evidence doesn't exonerate the president on the issue of obstruction. And so that it's a politically charged event, and the allies of the president are going to cherry pick those things that they like and are favorable to them. And then, quite frankly, people who have a knee-jerk, dislike of the president are going to probably do something similar. I'm not equating both sides. You got to be careful about that. But people are going to see in the document what they want to see. I'd like everyone to take sort of a deep breath and look at the whole thing and consider, notwithstanding the spin of various sides, how damaging it is to the president and whether or not it's something that in the ordinary course, if you didn't have all this spin, you didn't have all this defining deviance down, you didn't have all these terrible things that in other administrations would fell the president of the United States, literally would not be able to survive one or two or five or seven of the scandals, that you think, if this arose with respect to a Democratic president, a Republican president, or independent president on its own, would this be something that you would want Congress to look at and to investigate and to maybe hold the president accountable on? I think that's the test.
So it's obviously a good book. It's doing very well.
It is. Thank you.
It's a bestseller. Congratulations. Thank you, Preet.
Thanks, Don. Thanks.
Really appreciate it. The book is called Doing Justice: A Prosecutor's Thoughts on Crime, Punishment, and the Rule of Law. Make sure you pick it up and read it. And current and former White House staffers are dreading the release of Robert Mueller's report and the potential wrath of the president along with it. We'll tell you why. That's next.
Went to Ancestry. I put in the names of my grandparents first. It gave me a leaf almost right away. Within a few days, I went from knowing almost nothing to, holy crow, I'm related to George Washington. I didn't know that using Ancestry would be so easy.
Travel and dining just go together. Now Kayak and OpenTable let you earn travel rewards every time you dine. With just one reservation on OpenTable, you can start saving money on hotels with Kayak. Get started at kayak.com/dining rewards.
Ruby Tuesday slider combos, just $11.99. Right now, there's 6 new reasons to slide on in. Get 3 sliders, tots or fries, and the Endless Garden Bar. Slider combos at Ruby Tuesday, just $11.99. Join our email club for a free app.
Do your asthma symptoms ever hold you back? About 50% of people with severe asthma have too many cells called eosinophils in their lungs. Eosinophils are a key cause of severe asthma. Fasenra is designed to target and remove these cells. Fasenra is an add-on injection for people 12 and up with asthma driven by eosinophils. Fasenra is not a rescue medicine or for other eosinophilic conditions. Fasenra is proven to help prevent severe asthma attacks, improve breathing, and can lower oral steroid use. Fasenra may cause allergic reactions. Get help right away if you have swelling of your face, mouth, and tongue or trouble breathing. Don't stop your asthma treatments unless your doctor tells you to. Tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection or your asthma worsens. Headache and sore throat may occur. Haven't you missed enough? Ask an asthma specialist about Fasenra. If you can't afford your medication, AstraZeneca may be able to help.
HelloFresh delivers fresh ingredients and simple recipes, getting you from doorstep to delicious in around 30 minutes or less. Use code TV80 to get $80 off. HelloFresh, get cooking.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta travels to Bolivia and discovers the secrets of a tribe with the healthiest hearts in the world.
When I first started reading about this, I didn't believe it.
Chasing Life, Saturday night at 9 Eastern.
Help. When you fall and can't get help, you will lie on the floor for hours or days in constant, terrible anguish, which often results in a tragic outcome. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether at home,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
or on the go.
Help! I'm in the park and I can't get up.
And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-987-1212. That's 1-800-987-1212. Call now, 1-800-987-1212.
The Redemption Project with Van Jones premieres Sunday, April 28th at 9.
So tonight, sources telling CNN some current and former officials in the Trump White House are dreading the release of the redacted Mueller report on Thursday. They say they're afraid of it, that it could prove embarrassing. And they fear Trump's reaction if their testimony is revealed. I want to discuss now. Susan Glasser is here. Elie Honig, good evening to both of you. Thank you so much. We have a lot of ground to cover here. So let's talk about it. Less than 36 hours away. So a lot of people are very worried, Elie, tonight about how the president's going to react when he hears about their testimony. What type of problematic or damaging information might come out?
So, Don, let's start with this. We know that Mueller's report is approximately 400 pages. And just for a little bit of a real-world reference point, I went back and checked. The Harper Classics version of To Kill a Mockingbird is just about 400 pages long. So if you think back to when you read that in high school or college, that's how much information we're about to get. A lot of it is going to be damaging for the people around Donald Trump in his administration, in his campaign. First of all, the people who had contacts with Russians, and there were over a dozen of them, we know that those people had contacts with Russians. Many of them then lied about it. Now, look, we know that Robert Mueller concluded there wasn't enough or the right type of evidence to prove a conspiracy crime beyond a reasonable doubt. But that does not mean that nothing bad happened. And so I'm very interested to see what Robert Mueller has to say about those Russian contacts and the subsequent lies.
Susan, just think how this president reacts. Every time there's a tell-all book, or like a tell-all book comes out, he lashes out. And we have this long list of people mentioned in the Mueller investigation. We have current and former officials, others in Trump's orbit who had in-person interviews. So look at that. That's a big list. People who submitted written testimony. What are you expecting to see from the president, Susan?
Well, there's a very telling quote in CNN's story about this very issue today, Don. It says, according to a Republican source, quote, he's going to go bonkers. You know, it's a safe prediction, as you pointed out. We've had some experience with, you know, various books and insider reports from the White House. What's interesting about it is it usually tends to be not the release of a book or a publication itself, but the news coverage around it that tends to trigger the president. He already seems like he's moved into 24-hour-a-day pundit mode, pronouncing about the Notre Dame fires, as if he's watching TV, preemptively getting ready for whatever's going to come out. That reporting today has already suggested it's so damning, the picture, right, of the president that is painted by his own advisors and aides in these stories. We're not expecting the president to read this report about himself, but we know he'll be very alarmed based on the television coverage of it, for example. Yeah. And so, to a certain extent, obviously, it depends on what is deemed new news in here. That list of witnesses you put up is very impressive and long. These are people who are close to the president, many of whom still work with him every day. I remember when the Bill Clinton report, the Starr report, came out, and again, we actually had access in that report and its annexes to the unfiltered grand jury testimony, and it was the people surrounding President Clinton who gave this testimony against him. It was the White House stewards who produced some of the most embarrassing information. They're compelled under penalty of law to testify. The same will be true here, and of course, it's not alleged sex acts in the Oval Office that we're talking about. So. Yeah.
And compelled to do it under the risk of perjury, right? Mm-hmm. If they didn't tell the truth. Ellie, let's look at the former White House counsel, Don McGahn. Remember, he sat down with Mueller for 30-plus hours. Mm-hmm. There was never a full debriefing with Trump's legal team. And CNN reported last year that Trump was unsettled by all of this. And we may now learn why.
Yeah, Don. So Don McGahn spent 30 hours with Robert Mueller. That's a long time. I've spent a lot of time with cooperating witnesses. I've spent 30 hours, but only with sort of the most important ones with the most relevant information. And I do think people ought to be concerned about Don McGahn because he had inner circle access to the president, to the White House. He was in the room when the key decisions were made. It's been reported already that he was the person who had to talk the president out of trying to fire Robert Mueller. And so I think when we're looking at the obstruction question, which we know ended up being very close to a crime, so close that Robert Mueller decided not to decide, we're going to be looking at his intent. And I think someone like Don McGahn can say, here's what the conversation was in the West Wing, in the Oval Office. Here's what the intent was behind, for example, trying to fire Robert Mueller. And one other thing about the reporting today that people are concerned the president may go bonkers. If he wants to yell and scream and throw things, go ahead. But he needs to be careful because it is a federal crime, witness retaliation, to take action against somebody, retaliating against them for being a witness. And so if the president starts firing people or otherwise taking significant action against people because they spoke to Robert Mueller, that in itself could be a federal crime.
It is, Susan, it is stunning. I mean, it bears repeating. It's really incredible to think that what these aides, what these people are fearing is essentially retribution for telling the truth.
Well, look, I mean, first of all, excellent point about witness retaliation. Presidents have always been placed for a long time in uncomfortable situations like this. President Trump, it seems to me, one of the ways in which accountability has often eluded Donald Trump is because, in fact, he's been so transparent and saying things publicly that others in private might consider to be, a terrible wrongdoing. And in this particular case, on the obstruction charge, that's going to be, I think, one of the most important things we learn on Thursday. Is there new evidence or is it largely a potential act of wrongdoing on the part of the president that already exists in plain view? It has always been my view that this has been one of the ways in which Donald Trump has really changed our political system, is getting us to accept things like the firing of the FBI director, the firing of the attorney general, where he has publicly stated a motive that in any other previous context would be seen as outrageously improper and absolutely something that Congress would be forced to take up. We've already baked that into the stock market price, if you will, of Donald Trump on Thursday. So are we going to find out new information that changes that? Are people really so inured that reading the facts as we already know them to be laid out in stark and unrelenting detail doesn't do anything or affect our political process?
It's
an important moment either way.
Yeah, because what's already out there is damning enough, but still some people aren't moved by it. That is a very good point, Susan. Susan, Ellie, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Don.
New details on how the fire spread throughout Notre Dame, including why it took 23 minutes from the time the first fire alarm went off until officials actually found the fire. That's next.
Just a grilling and chilling, my favorite kind of time killing, no running.
Applebee's Bigger, Bolder Grill Combos. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, every day can begin with flakes. It's a reminder of your struggles with psoriasis. But what if your psoriasis symptoms didn't follow you around? That's why there's Illumia. With just 2 doses, a majority of people were clear or almost clear. And over time, even more people were clear or almost clear, all with dosing 4 times a year after 2 initial doses. Plus, Illumia was shown to have similar risks of infections compared to placebo.
Don't use if you're allergic to Illumia or any of its ingredients. Before starting treatment, your doctor should check for tuberculosis and infections. After checking, there is no need for routine lab monitoring unless your doctor advises it. Illumia may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or have symptoms, or if you plan to or have recently received a vaccine.
This could be your chance to leave your psoriasis symptoms behind. Ask your doctor for Illumia today for a clearer tomorrow.
Welcome to BritBox, the biggest streaming collection of British TV ever, from brand new shows to loved classics.
Oh, that's good news.
Very good. Binge Britain's best on BritBox. Start your free trial today at BritBox.com.
Somewhere along the way, Western boots got too expensive. And the styles? Well, Tecovas fixed that. We make handcrafted, high-quality Western boots for a fair price. Find your pair at Tecovas.com.
Wireless for $15 a month. That's not right.
It's right, all right. Carpet showers? That's not right.
That's not right.
Neither is the way you get wireless. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right. We're easy, online, and just $15 a month. Get your plan today at mintmobile.com.
Objective hit the targets. Level 1 player. Level 2, multiple players. Level 3, freestyle.
Live from New Hampshire, the first major candidate event of the 2020 presidential campaign. Sanders, Harris, Warren, Klobuchar, Buttigieg on the same stage, back to back. Monday night, starting at 7 Eastern, only on CNN.
I had a lot of root canals, extractions, always in dental pain. I knew dentures would not be right for me because I'm too active.
Had a lot of cavities, root canals, eating anything cold, it would hurt so bad.
I was embarrassed of my teeth. I don't think dentures were ever a solution. The only option for me was Clear Choice.
The Clear Choice one-day approach is making dental implants a reality for people all over the country who suffer from missing or failing teeth.
Because we have the surgeon and the prosthodontist and the lab in one facility working together as a team, we can perform this procedure in one day.
They put these beautiful teeth in my mouth, and I can eat ice cream, I can eat steak.
Schedule your free consultation today. We'll even talk about financing options.
I went to Clear Choice for new teeth, and I got so much more. They changed my life.
I get at least 5 or 6 compliments a day at work and go, wow, those teeth, they're gorgeous. All because of Clear Choice.
Call Clear Choice today.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
In Paris, investigators sifting through the charred rubble in Notre Dame Cathedral A warning of potential weaknesses in what remains of the building. While it's structurally sound overall, pictures show gaping holes in the roof where the ancient vaulted ceiling collapsed into the nave. Prosecutors say the cause of the fire, likely accidental. CNN's Nick Robertson live for us in Paris. Nick, hello to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, investigators got their first good look at the damage caused by this fire. It raged for 9 hours. What do we know about how it spread so quickly?
Well, what we know is that a fire alarm went off inside the cathedral about 6:20, and it was heard by the security officials within the cathedral, and they executed their policy, which was to evacuate the building. So they got everyone out of the building, but no hint of a fire. Then 23 minutes later, 6:43, the alarm went off again, and that's when they saw the fire, the first indication that they saw the fire. So it does seem as if those 23 minutes, while valuable to save lives, weren't perhaps used as well as they could have been to try to figure out where the root of the fire was, what was causing the alarm to be triggered. We don't know if they chose to completely ignore that first alarm or only go searching diligently after the second alarm. Undoubtedly, that's the sort of question investigators will be asking. But it does seem that at least the fire alarm system in the building itself was working. What it wasn't able to do, it seems, was actually pinpoint where everything was going wrong, Don.
And it seems that they may have gotten a lucky break, Nick, because many of the artifacts were out because they were renovating the building, and also as a fire was going, or before there were even signs of a fire, and when it spread to the roof, they were busy inside trying to get some of those artifacts out.
Yeah, some of the artifacts were literally saved by a human chain of people that were formed to get them out of the building, even while the fire was underway. There are cases we know of the chaplain who is the fire services chaplain, Chaplain Jean-Marc Fournier, went in with the police and helped the police rescue the crown of thorns and other of the sort of holy sacraments that are held within the cathedral. So he took them out. And this is a chaplain, the fire service chaplain, who served time in Afghanistan and was also here in Paris on the streets helping the dying and the injured during the terror attacks in 2015. So this is a priest going way above and beyond the call of his duty regularly, but on this occasion helping save the holy relics from the cathedral.
Nick Robertson, who's been covering this yesterday since it happened, thank you very much for your report this evening here in the U.S. Donations have been pouring in to help rebuild Notre Dame Cathedral, but yesterday's fire is also causing a spike in donations for the 3 black churches in Louisiana that were destroyed by arson just a few weeks ago. A crowdfunding campaign for the small churches received nearly $500,000 after social media users pointed out that the Notre Dame had been pledged hundreds of millions of dollars. But the Louisiana churches, well, they were still struggling. We'll tweet out the donation site, and also go on Twitter and look up Yashar Ali's account, who was very instrumental in starting this. We'll be right back.
Omar, look. Omar, check this out. Hi, yeah, I was calling to see if you do laser hair removal for men. Notice that my hips are off the ground? And then I'm gonna pike my hips back into downward dog. Hey, the rain stopped.
A bad day on the road still beats a good one off it.
Tell me about that dental procedure again. I can still taste it in my mouth.
Progressive helps keep you out there.
Whatever weather comes your way, WeatherTech has you covered. With our laser-measured cargo liners, no-drill mud flaps, and floor liners. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com. You never know when it's going to be a WeatherTech day.
Perfect weather today.
I drive up, I bring people dish. I love it. Why? Because what I bring makes people go, whoa. Over 80,000 on-demand movies and shows. A voice remote that leaves them speechless. Live TV streamed instantly. And it's all getting us some pretty big awards, but My reward is that moment when I let them drive.
Ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. Dish, tuned into you.
Unlock your child's potential with the online school that breaks the mold. Connections Academy provides caring, state-certified teachers and a safe, supportive environment. At Connections Academy, we believe that your kids will build the skills they need for future success. Visit connectionsacademy.com. Our high-quality curriculum can bring school to life for your child.
I have heart disease. Watch what I eat, take statins, but still struggle to lower my LDL bad cholesterol, which means a heart attack or stroke could strike without warning, pulling me away from everything that matters most. Because with high bad cholesterol, my risk of a heart attack or stroke is real. Repatha plus a statin seriously lowers bad cholesterol by 63% and significantly drops my risk of having a heart attack or stroke.
Do not take Repatha if you are allergic to it. Repatha can cause serious allergic reactions. Signs include trouble breathing or swallowing or swelling of the face. Most common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
I won't let a heart attack or stroke come between me and everything I love. Neither should you. Tell your doctor to lower your LDL and reduce your risk with Repatha. Pay no more than $5 per month with a Repatha copay card.
I got a certain way I like to do things. I like Consumer Cellular. I get unlimited talk and text for just $25 a month with no contract. They received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service again.
And Consumer Cellular has been an approved AARP provider since 2008, so we trust them. Reliable nationwide coverage for way less money? That's the way.
We like it.
Get wireless the way you like it. Call, go online, or find us at Target.
Travel and dining just go together. Now Kayak and OpenTable let you earn travel rewards every time you dine. Earn points with each restaurant reservation on OpenTable and redeem them for hotel discounts on Kayak. Get started at kayak.com/dining rewards.
In an era of online retail where everything is just a few clicks away, buying a car should be no different. That's why at Carvana, you can buy a car 100% online. We made it easy to browse, view, and buy from over 10,000 cars. You can even trade in your old car, all while binge-watching your favorite TV show. Afterwards, we'll deliver your car to you. Or you can pick it up from one of our car vending machines. Either way, your car comes with a 7-day return policy. So grab a seat, relax in your comfy pants, and enjoy the new way to buy a car at Carvana.
A source with knowledge of the investigation into the college admission scandal saying tonight that prosecutors plan to seek a sentence of 4 to 10 months behind bars for actress Felicity Huffman. Last week, she pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud. Let's discuss now with attorneys Joe Tacopina and Areva Martin. Areva is the author of Make It Rain. Hello to both of you. Areva, does a punishment of between 4 and 10 months in prison fit Felicity Huffman's crime?
Well, it's on the lower end of the sentencing guidelines. One thing the prosecutors down have been pretty clear about in this case is that they were going to ask for jail time for anyone that was convicted or who took a plea deal in this case. You know, she paid allegedly $15,000, which is a lot less money than some of the other targets or other defendants in the case who were in the hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars. I think the punishment does fit the crime. I think there's some sense, though, that these people, Felicity, Lori, these high-profile people shouldn't serve any jail time. I'm not of that frame of mind. I look at the teachers, the educators in the Atlanta cheating scandal. I've said this before on this program. Some of those teachers got 7 years in prison. They were charged with RICO charges for their, the conduct they engaged in with respect to changing standardized test scores for students in the Atlanta public schools. So I think jail time and accountability is really important in this case because this case was not victimless. A lot of people were hurt in this college scam.
Especially the students. Especially the students who worked really hard. And Felicity Huffman
worked hard and should have gotten into these schools.
Felicity Huffman did mention in her apology, she wrote a seemingly sincere public apology letter taking responsibility for her actions, Joe. Did that seem to make a difference to prosecutors? It doesn't?
It will. It absolutely will.
But I wonder if it did because Areva said it's on the low end of the spectrum. Maybe it did.
Well, no, the plea deal was worked out before she put out her statement, right? So the sentencing guidelines, look, this is a federal case, and the federal cases are driven by what's called federal sentencing guidelines. They're not mandatory, but it's the range that the judge has to consider. It's the right range for this level of crime. I mean, it's not like the prosecutors decide, let's be lenient on her because she's an actress and we all know her. I mean, that's what the guideline
Think she'll
range
go to prison?
I don't think she's going to go to prison. 4 to 10 months is the range.
Yeah.
The judge can depart from that based on mitigating circumstances.
Before we run out of time, I want to ask you about actress Lori Loughlin, Areva. Her husband, Massimo Giannulli, and some 17 others are doing the exact opposite, entering not guilty pleas. Is that a better choice? I don't.
Well, they are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. They have taken the position that they're going to fight this, at least for now. Now, they can change their minds, and they may work out some plea deal along the way before this case actually goes to trial. But what we're hearing, Don, is that they're not accepting that they did anything wrong. Unlike Felicity, we're not hearing any statements from them or any of their representatives suggesting that they have acknowledged the gravity of the acts that they engaged in. I don't know if it's, denial or delusion, but they've decided to fight, and that's their right to do so.
Well, it could be, you're right, it could be denial, it could be delusion, or it could be, I'm innocent. and we've all seemed to have convicted everyone in this case. I mean, everyone thinks everyone's guilty, and it's just a matter of sentencing. They are presumed innocent, and we don't know all the facts in this case. She might come forward and say, I was duped, and maybe it's going to stick.
Let me ask you something real quick. Some children of the parents facing charges in this scandal, they've received letters from federal prosecutors warning them that they could be targets in a criminal probe. What's the purpose of sending those letters?
To threaten them. I mean, no other reason than to threaten them. And I find it very distasteful. I mean, look, these kids are hurt, and they're hurt enough. I mean, these kids will never be normal again. And these parents, quite frankly, despicable acts are to blame. To now start threatening 18-year-old kids who were influenced by their parents' decisions, I think is not the right thing to do.
Do you think anything will happen to him, Areva?
Well, I hope that Joe is right, that these are 18-year-old kids, but the reality is that some of these kids may be a lot older, and some of these kids may not be kids, they may be adults, and they may be adults who were complicit and involved in and had, complete knowledge of what their parents were involved in. So I don't want to assume that the prosecutors are going after innocent kids. I would hope that if they are sending target letters to these adults, these graduates, that they're doing so because they have some evidence to support what they are doing.
But then they should have done it from the get-go, Areva. You're right about that.
Well,
but they
Joe, if
don't
these
do
are
it if the
adults
parents
that
aren't
were
going to plead.
engaged,
We're out of time.
no, if these are adults that were engaged in the criminal acts of their parents, why should they get a pass?
We'll
They
be
should
right
have said
back.
it in the beginning if
We'll be right
it was
back.
real evidence.
Thank you both.
Ruby Tuesday slider combos, just $11.99. Right now, there's 6 new reasons to slide on in. Get 3 sliders, tots or fries, and the Endless Garden Bar. Slider combos at Ruby Tuesday, just $11.99. Join our email club for a free app.
Every day, visionaries are creating the future. So every day, we put our latest technology and unrivaled network to work. The United States Postal Service makes more e-commerce deliveries to homes than anyone else in the country.
Our yard could really use some work. Do you know any good landscapers?
I think I do.
I need quotes from your top 4 guys and check their credentials and customer reviews.
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything HomeAdvisor can. So just ask HomeAdvisor.
From the founder of Discovery Channel comes a new independent streaming service, Curiosity Stream, home of groundbreaking documentaries and award-winning original series. Follow your curiosity. This is Curiosity Stream.
Fact, we all love video doorbells. Voice assistants have changed our lives. We now control our home with a touch. Indoor and outdoor cameras help us keep watch. We want to guard our digital lives and hold tight to our loved ones everywhere. And you know what's better than all these things by themselves? All these things together from the most trusted name in security, ADT.
Abigail, we can escape to the north. Will you leave with me?
20 million members have connected to a deeper family story. Get started for free at Ancestry.com.
I cannot imagine
managing my diabetes without my Dexcom.
This is the Dexcom G5 Mobile Continuous Glucose Monitoring System. A small wearable sensor measures your glucose every 5 minutes and sends the data to a Dexcom receiver.
Dexcom helps lower A1C and improves quality of life. If you're over 65 and you have diabetes, you should have a Dexcom.
If you get a Dexcom, you're going to be very glad that you did.
Visit DexcomNow.com to learn more.
Live from New Hampshire, the first major candidate event of the 2020 presidential campaign. Sanders, Harris, Warren, Klobuchar, Buttigieg on the same stage, back to back. Monday night, starting at 7 Eastern, only on CNN.
I have a vision correction number, but I'm more than a number. When I'm not teaching, I'm taking steep grades and tight corners. My Essilor lenses offer more than vision correction with 3 innovative technologies for my ultimate in vision, clarity, and protection, together in a single lens. The Essilor Ultimate Lens Package, so I can do more of what I love.
Buy 2 pairs of Essilor's best lenses and get $100 back instantly. See more, do more. Essilor.
Got an idea for an invention, but don't know what to do next? Call my friends at